very early on when it was like a mad rush, kind of like anybody raises your hand and you get projects and whatnot. Quickly hired to like 6, 7, 8 devs, fresh juniors who were training up learning Bubble, and I was training up learning Bubble and kind of like in the middle. And then I hit a cap that I can't handle more. I just like this not enough hours in the day, and work-life balance is way crazy. And that's when like it's basically okay, I need to change the way everything works.
Today I'm speaking with Zubair Kakakhel. Zubair is the founder and CEO of a small no-code agency called Azkitech Labs. He started his agency in 2020 and has quickly grown it to a team of 7 full-time developers. One thing I loved about speaking with Zubair is that he's completely transparent about the challenges he's experienced as a business owner and also about the strategies he's using to grow his business today. If you're thinking about getting started as a freelancer, or if you have dreams of having your own agency one day, this interview is for you. Together, Zubair and I discuss how to get your first paying client when you have no professional experience, how to think about charging clients, and how to market yourself to attract more clients. If you finish this interview and think, hey, that Zubair guy's pretty cool, I want him to build my app, I've left the link to his agency in the description of this video. And as always, if you're enjoying these conversations, make sure to like and subscribe. Without further ado, here's Zubair. I want to start with some advice that you would give to someone who is just getting started in this space, who wants to go down the freelancing agency route that you went down. As far as I understand, you're managing a team of 7 developers now, you're running your own agency, and you started quite recently in 2020. So congrats on the success, first of all. That's amazing. And I want to know what you would say to someone who maybe has the skills as a developer, but they don't have this big portfolio. They're just getting started. They want to be their own boss. They want to build applications for clients. What advice would you give them? How do they get their first client?
Okay, so how to get clients? There's many elements of this, and sometimes what worked for somebody at a certain point in time may not work again for somebody later on. I'll explain what I mean by that. So there's the technical, do you know, can you deliver, and the capability of the engineering, and then there's actually finding somebody who has the need and then potentially convincing them of Bubble, or they may already know Bubble. Okay, so if I rewind back to March 2020 when I first started Bubble and everything, the COVID time, the environment then was, if you raise your hand, I'm a Bubble dev, there's like a swarm of people who are like, we need a Bubble dev kind of happen. Now it's not the same. So at the time, like the supply demand skew, and the Bubble forum posts on like, we need a Bubble dev, we need a Bubble dev, or on the RFP mailing list, we need a Bubble dev. So you could respond and you would get a kind of response back, and you would be able to manage to close it. Now it's not as straightforward, I'd say. There's still loads of work out there. There's still loads of work out there. I won't discourage anyone. I think everybody should go into no code. It's just like some of the advice out there may not be relevant now, which is what I'm trying to get. So if you have the developer skills, if I look at myself, I don't have sales or marketing skills. All this now, YouTube, everything, this is just like me trying to wing it. Okay, so if you think, oh, Zubair's like, oh, this got the YouTube channel and all this tweets going on, I'm just winging it. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, so, and this is just from one developer to another developer who's like, everybody's winging it. So don't be shy and try and keep winging it. Just keep doing something about it. Okay, that's number one. Just do something and anything. Okay, you have to be slightly go out of your comfort zone. And going out of your comfort zone could mean go attend a local meetup about startup accelerator, incubator, try and talk and just nurture conversations there. Going to a different community in Slack or posting on Twitter. But these will all be things outside your comfort zone, which come under the umbrella of sales or marketing. And with you may have the technical skills, fine, but you do need to do those at some point in life, and especially for an agency or a freelancer. And the traditional route of marketplaces like Upwork, Fiverr, they all work as well. And I've worked there as well. Now I'm shy of them, but they work. There's loads of work there as well.
Yeah, so what I'm getting from what you're saying, and I resonate with this too, because when I started freelancing in 2020 as well, um, back then, I found my first few clients, I think, just responding to forum posts for
Yeah,
people
I
who
got them
needed
as
help
well.
with developers.
Forum, RFP.
And
Yeah.
and from what I see too, I'm not really freelancing at all anymore. But from what I see, just from the amount of well, just the amount of users in the space and the amount of people who are capable bubble developers now, it is much more competitive. So I think what you're saying, what I hear you saying, is throw a bunch of darts and try a bunch of things, get out of your comfort zone, and something will eventually hit.
Yeah, definitely get out of your comfort zone. That's I think that's the, if you had to kind of simplify in the one nutshell advice, just get out of your comfort zone, talk to people. Whether it's you're comfortable on Twitter, fine. Whether it's you're comfortable on YouTube, fine, or LinkedIn, fine. So I'll be honest, I've received clients from Twitter, I've received clients from YouTube, I've received clients from the RFP mailing list way back, not that much anymore. I've received clients from Bubble Forum. I've received clients from Linked. I think LinkedIn. I'm not 100% sure. LinkedIn as well. So it could be a YouTube video. It could, whichever medium. And I've received clients like in person or Slack as well. Okay. So whichever medium works for you, which is a bit outside of your comfort zone. Just deving won't work. The bubble editor won't give you clients. Okay. The bubble editor won't give you clients, unfortunately.
And one of the common fears that I've heard, it was certainly a kind of a thing that I was anxious about when I started freelancing, is the lack of a portfolio, right? When you're on an interview with a client trying to win their business, one of the questions that comes up rather quickly most of the time is, hey, what work have you done? Can I see some of your other work? So, how do you combat that question when you don't have a lot of experience to show potential clients?
Definitely catch 22 problem. The first client, the first bubble client, I actually started building some of what they needed. And actually, like, see this, I can do. See, it's so easy. You could start seeing a shell of what was being built. I did not have a portfolio at all. So I would say this is, it depends on where the client came from. If they're shopping around, like from your like an Upwork marketplace or like if they know others, then it's a different thing. Then it's, you only have like price or your persuasion skills. Like you have less leverage there, because they're okay, I have like X amount of money and I've got 3 4 calls booked. And if you're competing with zero portfolio and zero kind of thing, it's a hard one, because it depends. And then you can just squeeze I've lowered the price lever many times. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll just keep lowering it, keep lowering it until somebody says yes, kind of thing. But the first one I got from Slack community, and they weren't shopping around, at least not bubble devs. Okay, they were shopping around maybe WordPress, or it was a dashboard. It was a dashboard repeating groups, filters, and that type of stuff. And I started actually building the shell between, and we had like 3 calls, and I'd like just way overextend into it, and it could have not closed, which would have been a waste. But learning, so you keep learning. And the other traditional advice works as well. Just build something, like clone something. That totally works. So clone, if you're in like, I would recommend cloning local. So if you are, it depends if you're fishing for local clients. So if you're in the US and you're fishing for US clients, clone something US. If you're in the UK and you're looking for UK clients, clone something UK. Same goes for other countries as well. Something they can just like instantly get, or you can just go some Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, something everybody knows. Clone.
Oh,
They
okay.
work as well.
So let's rewind back to 2020 or maybe 2021. I don't know exactly when it was when you made the shift to start bringing on employees, but how do you make that shift in your own business? So for many people, I think the most common route that you see is, things start working, you start getting clients as a solo freelancer, and then you just start getting overworked and you have more work that you can handle. And again, another kind of catch 22
Catch 22.
problem
Total
where
catch
it's
22.
exactly.
Total catch 22.
So how do you like extract yourself out from developer mode, because most people who get into freelancing are good developers, but what you'll quickly realize freelancing is that developing is one small aspect of the business. So how do you take yourself out of that solo entrepreneur mode and bring on employees and start thinking about this thing more as a business, and how your role, what your role is in that business?
Okay, so I'd rewind before starting the agency as well, because since I think 2, 3 years before that, I had been meaning to do something. Now, you don't necessarily need to be, I'm gonna do X or I'm gonna change the world Y. But I was like, okay, I need to do something. So keep it open-minded. So I came from an IoT electrical engineering background with zero web kind of experience, kind of no code. So just open mind. And then there's like, you can see trends. Data science at the time was like, I should just do a master's in data science and just do a data scientist type thing. Or AI or virtual reality, NFTs and crypto. I wasn't that into it, but that was a rising trend then as well. No code jumped on it and it worked. But if like the mindset there, like it's more like reading business books. That worked for me. Reading hacker news, reading articles. In fact, I was in Y Combinator startup school way back in, I don't know, 2018. They had a glitch. They accidentally sent the no candidates yes. So I got in. So
Oh, okay. So everyone who they rejected, they sent the approval to.
yeah, everyone they rejected, they sent the approval to, and 3 hours later, they're like, "Oops, sorry, not for you." So we'd already done the celebration, and my wife was like, "Oh, yeah, we got in. It's Y Combinator." And then 3 hours later,
Wow.
no. And then 3 hours later, you know what? Everybody's in. So that had happened. What I'm trying to say, it all builds up. All knowledge, all experience builds up. So it's not like I started March 2020 and started hiring then and made that mindset transition. The mindset transition was way back. And it's more to do with here. It's, of course, there's the numbers and the cash flow and the kind of the real numbers itself, but it's definitely a lot to do with here. And I still struggle with it as well. It's like I'll open the bubble editor myself still, and I sometimes have to, which is fine as well. But sometimes it's like I'm tired. I just like to bubble a bit and not do management and emails and other stuff. Uh, and one thing I'll add as well, that I think I got lucky in a sense that I went offshore. So I'm from Pakistan and I hired in Pakistan. And from the very beginning, I was like, I'm going to hire devs in Pakistan. There's very joblessness there and there's hard to do. And I have the unique USP that I can speak the language there. I can listen to, I've been in the UK 10 years now. I can listen to clients. I can speak English, maybe not with the same accent, but I can communicate comfortably with them very easily. And then I can switch languages and switch cultures and try and explain the concept there. So a lot of my time is spent in situations that are common in the UK apps, which developers in Pakistan or offshore will not have come across because they haven't used apps that way. Simple small example like zip code or postcode lookup, that's not common in third world countries or offshore. So they, unless they've developed on such a system before, so explaining things like booking system, card checkout, and it's just different mechanics. So because of the offshore factor, I think I was able to hire quicker. So I would definitely encourage people to consider that aspect. But there are challenges as well. You can get it wrong. I've made a few mistakes. Letting go is one of the hardest things. I think letting people go during probation, it's a hard call. I clearly remember getting a migraine on the day before and after kind of thing, when it's like I'm trying so hard to kind of make this guy work, but it's like it's not gonna work, and that's one of the hardest things on like any business owner, any agency owner. When you ask them, they're like, "Ah, yeah, letting go is not fun at all." You have to be a really kind of strange person to enjoy that part of life. So yeah.
Dive a little bit deeper into that for me, though, because I'm curious to get into if there are any like specific hacks or things that you tell yourself to get out of developer mode when you do feel like, let's just say that someone on your team is developing something and it's not quite in the way that you would do it if you were developing it yourself. Like, do you still feel this tendency to want to go in and kind of micromanage? Is that,
Fix it.
do you still feel that within yourself?
Fix
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
big
yeah.
time.
The quality. Yeah, yeah. No, no, it's not good enough, kind of thing. So especially like look at like maybe less UI wise because clients pick that up. And like that's Figma and everything. And my background's not design, but when I see a database structured the wrong way, I get like kind of ticked. It's like, why is this like here? And the response I get, oh, because this here. And I'm like, but you just had to put an option set here. And that would have simplified the workflow and the UX and the database and the privacy rule. So, and I was like, but the team's good trained now. We are using a design system and we've got like internal kind of common patterns that we use for user privilege system and like how to set up SaaS organization system and how the UI works. So that across the team worked as well. I think so. It's just like yeah, learning within team members across team members. I'd say there's two styles of. Are you aware of the two styles of agencies running in like bubble agency? How two agencies operate? How much interaction have you had with agencies, by the way?
Not too much, a little bit, but I've spent most of my time, or when I was freelancing, it was just me as a solo freelancer, and then I kind of took on more developer gigs at companies. But what are the two
Okay.
types? I'm curious.
Okay, you can call them three types actually, three, four types. I've tried to explain them to clients as well. Like this is like the thresholds that the types of agencies you're gonna come across. There's the agencies which are powered by freelancers. So there's like you could do that just today if you want. You like just start creating a pool of your freelancers who you can trust, and you're like, okay, close deals, take like a 50% or something, and just hand off to the freelancer who's like an expert in bubble and product and kind of like an all-in-one person. But you've tried them a few times, and they'll actually deliver the whole thing. But you kind of sort of remain in the sidelines and loop and close the deal. You're good with sales, and some you have to pick up the slack if he just doesn't deliver, essentially. But there's definitely the freelancer powered agencies. Okay, and one of the biggest ones, you AirDev is also like they have a core team, but they have a large pool of like ad hoc staff as well. Then there's agencies like mine, which have like in-house full-time employees. So for just today, for example, one of the staff members, she was like, I have to go on holiday end of October, like a week off. So it's just my job to manage that workload kind of going up and down. Somebody went on, I've had staff go on maternity and come back from maternity. So it's like, okay, long holidays, short holidays, sickness in family, there's employee powered ones. Then you have the variation between nearshore and offshore. So like there's I think Stayshores in Canada who's like proudly all Canadian developers. So you can use that as a USP because I've had clients come to me because we just want to talk to somebody in the UK, like straight up front. I'm like, why did you kind of hire me and kind of choose me? We just wanted to speak with someone in the UK. We're tired of dealing direct offshore, kind of thing. So there's offshore employees, offshore freelancers, nearshore employees, nearshore freelancers. So, and you'll get the whole way. There's a spectrum. It's not a hard and fast rule. But yeah, there are differences in subtle
So
differences.
why did you make the choice for you to go down to
Employee
choose
route,
that
the
path?
employee route.
Yeah.
Just initially, I was just wanted to hire in Pakistan, and there's no freelancers, not that many in Pakistan. In fact, I was like, I in some aspects you could say introduced bubble more in Pakistan because there's just very few. There were like the odd few people, and then I was like, okay, I'll hire and train. So I had to hire fresh and train them. Another long process, which you could or go. There's pros and cons either way. So
When I go to your website, your agency's website, there's a nice big call to action in the top right corner. It says book a discovery call. And I think that's the generally the approach that most agencies take in terms of like the top of the funnel. So how do you think about a discovery call when you're getting on? What kind of questions have you found to be really great questions for you? Take me through how you think about that part of the process.
So, some of the most common questions I still get, and everybody I'm sure gets, is like, will it scale? Will my no-code app scale? And can I take it and host it in some other kind of place and stuff? Some are about no-code in general, just security. Few are concerned about security actually. They're more like scale and what can I take my data and those types of questions. Then there's like, how are you as a company, as like what's your process like, so we have like a streamlined kind of way of doing things. We'll kind of have like a 2 hour kickoff call. We'll do Figma wireframes, then we'll have an internal kickoff call, and then we'll have weekly check-ins and invite them to click up and then actually do. So every agency will have their way of working, and clients are usually curious about that. Sometimes, and definitely relevant experience comes up a lot as well. Have you kind of built something like a marketplace? Common one. Oh yeah, yeah, we've built marketplaces before. It's kind of straightforward stuff. This marketplace. So it just varies. I think the best questions, uh I wouldn't say the best question. I think it varies between who came on the call. Second time founders are the easiest. They ask the right questions. They're like, they know what to build. Okay. The hardest are people who don't know what to build. And I get them a lot as well. It's like, I've got this rough idea. And that's why I wrote a proper guide on like 5 steps to flesh out your idea kind of thing. And you start with a high level brief and then a bit of user stories, a journey map, and a wireframe, and gave templates and kind of like Miro board kind of pushed because it was getting too much on my kind of like explaining it again and again and again. So first time founders who are non-technical may or may not have a strange perspective of like polished product or MVP, or I just want to go live, or they're like the quality bar may be too high for like $1,000 budget. It's like, oh come on, be a piece. I know it's no code, but it's not no work.
Right, right. Let me clarify though too, because
Yeah,
I've gotten all of those questions before myself too.
yeah.
But part of the discovery process, look, when you're starting out, like we had talked about before, I mean, like just get your
Anyone,
first few clients, get anyone and do the
take
work.
anyone. Yeah.
But exactly, but quickly once you get a few clients, I learned myself part of the discovery call is disqualifying bad clients that come your way too. So when I was asking you about questions, curious what questions you ask clients to try to qualify them or disqualify them in that discovery call.
Yeah, so there's alarm bells that go off in my head when like
Okay.
questions happen. It's a bit hard to kind of pinpoint. Some are the easy facts. So for example, mobile apps, we've done it once and we're like, we don't want to do them again, kind of thing. So that's an
Why not?
easy one. It's just tedious with Bubble and like the BDK native wrapper. Amazing work by Gaurav, by the way, but the making, like, it's amazing that it is possible. But for us to do the work, and get it approved on App Store, work with them back and forth, it's just a lot of back and forth and a different type of app altogether compared to a web dashboard SaaS kind of app. And as a business, it's retaining that skill in the team would have been hard. So, for example, we started generic no code. We did Webflow, we did Bubble, we did a little bit of Ardalo, a little bit of Wappler low code, and then we kind of niche down into Bubble. And the reason was we've got full time staff, they'll leave, no new will join, train, hire. It's hard to keep different skill sets in the team. Okay, so it's easier to kind of be like bubble, like platform specific, and keep platform specific knowledge. And within platform, you can niche down to like the mobile app versus web app is an easy one. And some of the mobile apps, I can steer them towards. That's why I still sometimes take the call. I can steer them towards not doing a mobile app because there's no point. Just have a link, go to market, and some agree. So that's one. Budget is another one. Kind of easy, kind of like just like if somebody comes with a template, we've now I've got like more qualifying questions on the booking itself, on like just like what type and what's like sometimes the call will book and they would have written something in the text brief, and I'll just on email kind of say I'm sorry I can't do this. So mobile app is one segment. If the app is very mobile appy, like I won't even bother trying to convince them. It is a mobile app. The idea is a mobile app. No point. The other is budget related. Then it's the conversation, just a vibe kind of thing. It's hard to pinpoint. Does he get me? So I think you'll understand as well. Being a bubble developer it's different than a coded freelancer or something. A coded freelancer will not bounce back to the product owner and say don't do it because it's hard. As bubble devs, we are like, oh, what you want? Nah, don't do it. It's too hard in bubble. In bubble land, do this. Solve the user problem easier and shortcut, and you don't want to kind of like have a special type of like button interaction which the plugin doesn't exist. Just so you have to kind of push back. And if people are receptive to push back, that's a good sign. Some are like, oh no no no, we're like has to be this way. So for example, I've made many mistakes. I've made many mistakes if you want to go down that route. So one guy wanted pixel perfect, like literally. He actually told me on the first call that I'm gonna use this Chrome extension. He was like, I'm OCD about it. I'm gonna use this Chrome extension to overlay the XD design on top of the bubble app. And I, in my naive stupidity, said, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that sounds like even just hearing that gives me anxiety thinking about that implementation.
With the old responsive engine. So
Right. Oh god.
I know. So and like I shouldn't. That's just a warning sign. So some of it comes with experience and making the mistakes, kind of thing. So yeah.
So okay. So pre-qualifying them in, first of all, just in the form to book the discovery call. Sometimes they'll write something that I've had that too. I also had a form that people would fill out to book a discovery call when I was doing this, and I remember seeing some things, reading some submissions and thinking this is just not a good fit, and I would do the same thing. I'd respond right away and say, hey, I don't think we're a good fit for reasons X, Y, and Z. Two, the budget talk. So how soon into, like I think it's common for agencies to have, what's your budget for this project, a question on the form that people fill out.
Yeah.
But people will put a whole bunch of different things on forms.
Yeah.
How soon into the discovery call do you breach that topic and start talking about budget?
So I follow an amazing guy on YouTube, Alex Hormozy. I'll recommend him.
I follow him too. I like him a lot.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
His approach to budget is a funny one. It's like if you tell somebody, what was his? Can you come up with £10,000 right now, and I'll give you a Ferrari? Because the value mismatch is so high, they'll kind of do anything to get the budget, kind of thing. So, and some people just don't want to spend. So, it's just ahead of time. Try and see if they have socials. Look them up. Like if do a gut feel assessment there. I've had business owners who don't want to spend, and very kind of large revenue business owners who spending may have streamlined their operations and reduced costs and whatnot, but it's just they don't want to, maybe they don't want to pay me, or they're like, okay, I can get it cheaper elsewhere or something. And I've had founders who've put a lot as well. So it's a tricky one. It's I think having the minimum sets a baseline kind of thing, that okay, you know what, it's just no point kind of thing. Beyond that,
do you communicate that though? Like
on the
minimum
on the Calendly form, it's there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
that's it. And some people kind of still kind of sneak in. Some people still sneak in. That's fine. It's part of the trade. It's linked with features as well. I think the bigger problem is they may have the minimum, but their expectation of what they'll get out of it because no code is just too high. So they'll want a full Stripe Connect marketplace with amazing UX and amazing kind of booking system and everything, and then they'll have like $3,000. Like, it can't work. Come on, it's too much, kind of thing. So that's where the budget discussion is a sensitive one. It's hard to bring it very quickly in the call, unless you have the spec as well. So unless you have the spec, you have to build a bit of a rapport as well. It's the first time you're talking to somebody, and but you don't want to ignore it either. It is like if you just leave it and oh yeah, I'll prep and send a proposal, and then the proposal's like kind of thing, and then they're like, oh, it's you can't just work with them as to kind of the good clients are receptive to chopping features. They'll be like, okay, you know what, let's prioritize. What can we get out of this kind of thing? Okay, which is like, okay, let's, for example, easiest feature to chop sign in with LinkedIn. And the question to ask is, when have you signed in with LinkedIn? And they're like, I don't remember. So why are you
Right,
making
right.
an app with sign in with LinkedIn? So just like waste of time. So and just start chopping features. So it's a back and forth. So I've had people who maybe I should have charged them more who are like, how much? And I'm like, yeah, around about X. And he's like, okay, fine. Let's like move on. I'm like, oh man, lost. Should have said a bit more, kind of thing. But yeah, it's an art. I'm not great at it.
It's a tricky one. And I think one of the things that's funny too. So the last thing you mentioned in terms of qualifying or disqualifying clients was the some of the intangibles, just the vibe that you get speaking with people, and it's amazing. I remember there was one client that I had who was I was super busy at the time, and I actually like didn't really want to take on more work because I was kind of going nuts with all that I had to do. But I remember we jumped on a call, and his app was like super simple. He seemed like a great dude. We got along really well. But I was still really busy and didn't really want to take on more work. So I remembered getting off of that call, throwing a number at him that was much higher than I would have maybe normally quoted if I were in different circumstances and looking for work, just to see what happened. And he actually ended up going with me. He said I was like the highest bid that came through. He was talking to other people, but it was I think the reason he went with me, and I was at that point too not as experienced by far as like a lot of these other people that he was probably speaking with. But I think the reason he went with me is we just hit it off and we got along well,
Yeah,
and there was a good vibe there. And it's
definitely vibe
amazing. I think
factor.
you the people who like you will be willing to pay more for your services, I think,
Yeah, if they have the budget, they're willing to
if
kind
they
of
have the
yeah.
budget.
If they have the budget, they're willing to pay more. There's definitely a vibe factor. I've come off calls and like I'll go tell my wife, yeah, no, so this kind of thing. And I've come off calls and I'm like, okay, amazing stuff. I think it's gonna work. It's still a stiff competition, but the vibe factor happens. Yeah, and I've had people who are like, we like you more, but we went with X because of $1,000 cheaper kind of thing, which is fine. I mean, it's part of the somebody else was like underquoted. I've done the same, I'm sure, when I was starting out. Somebody else underquoted and they were too budget conscious, so they just went with it. So it's all part of it. Yeah.
How do you think about scoping a project? I know that from every person that I've talked to, and my I was just a mess in this area. Even when I'm just doing my personal work and thinking in my head about how long a feature is going to take me to develop, I still, after years of experience, wildly underestimate how long things are going to take me. So, how do you think about scoping project work? Do you have systems for that? How do you approach that messy topic?
Messy topic. So I had a Twitter thread recently where everybody have a very strong opinion and everybody was crying about it as well that they were bad at it. It was like pricing and estimation and so kind of like scoping. So there's two parts to it. One is the fleshing out the idea. The other is estimating the effort that's needed to do it, like prioritizing and estimating. Just scoping, I think there are tried and tested techniques to just flesh out and elaborate. That's, I think, relatively easier to do. It's surprisingly time consuming, and people don't want to pay for it as well because they're like, what's the point of all these like granular details? But they're needed to track any type of project work, or you'll just come up with new ideas during the call and just like unlimited dev work's gonna happen. There's no point there. So in terms of fleshing out, there's the user story, which is like the text kind of just uses text as a user. I can do this as a user. I can do this. That works for many people. There's the journey, like cross-functional flowchart or swim lane diagram. There's like how many users there are and how they interact. So there's a flowchart. So buyer, seller, sign up, add listing, buyer, view listing, click contact message. So that there's the user journey diagram. Low fidelity wireframes in pencil sketches in like Miro or Balsamic, even sticky note wireframes work. And then you can flesh out more in high fidelity wireframes. Uh, so that's the scoping part. Then, in terms of estimation as to how much time and effort this will take, it's hard. There's no shortcut. I think one mistake I make is that I think in my time, I should not think in my time. Thinking in like another junior dev time kind of varies. Uh, there's like the recent Twitter thread. I'll quickly fire off the output of that. T-shirt size it instead of hourly estimate. It's like small, medium, large. So if you're like, okay, if it's not a small, a little big, just go medium. If it's not like it's when you go wear a shirt, you're like, ah, it's a bit tight. So I'll just go one up. You're not like it's a bit loose. You don't like go down kind of thing. So you can just t-shirt size things to keep it simple in terms of like, and this is what a rough t-shirt kind of costs in terms of hours. That's one mechanism. Then you have the standard like hour, this many hours. And many have suggested just whatever you think, double it. And somebody's even suggested like just triple it. Because so it varies on gut feel and level of your insight into the experience into similar features that you've worked on. So I think the hardest would be API integrations and unknown new API integrations like Stripe. I can estimate, but unknown new ones, it's like we just don't know kind of thing. UI when it's created is easier to estimate. Sometimes backend logic can be hard to estimate. So it's a hard topic. Uh, Not doing it is not a good idea at all. So up until now, I'm not a good person to talk about this topic because I've been gut feeling it. and and I've been very wrong many times now. So I would say gut feel it to 3 weeks, and it would end up taking five. And it's not a sustainable way of doing business. So I'm very bad at it. So if there's any consolation in that, is like even after doing it for 2.5 years with so many projects, I'm still bad at it. And just accept it and then try and change the mechanism next time around. It's just the hardest part of being, I think, a business owner is changing yourself. The faster you can change yourself, uh, the faster you can probably grow, uh, kind of thing. So first year, day one, first month, first few months, clearly remember I was telling my wife before leaving my job, I'm like, I think I'll be able to make minimum wage. Don't worry about it. Those were my, and we still laugh at that one, and we still kind of remember kind of thing. Are you making minimum wage? Like, and those were my exact words to her. Trust me. She had a job and I had a job, and we're like, okay, do you want to quit? And she's like, I was like, yeah, quit and do something. And we're like, don't worry, I think I can make minimum wage.
That's
So
I'm sure that just something that every woman loves to hear from their husband. Eh?
yeah, okay.
That's amazing. Tell me more. I want to dive deeper into that. So you said the hardest thing for a business owner is changing yourself. What was for you in your journey a moment where you really where that was forefront and you knew that you had to change? There was something about the programming in your mind or your previous approach to whatever problem you were having that was not working that you had to change. Is there an example that comes to mind?
Uh, Distinctly one example. I'd say it's every day, like just sales marketing, but two key examples come to mind. One is when we hit the 7 8 developer kind of, this is the very early on when it was like a mad rush, kind of like anybody raises your hand and you get projects and whatnot. Quickly hired to like 6 7 8 devs, fresh juniors who were training up learning bubble, but and I was training up learning bubble and kind of like in the middle. And then I hit a cap that I can't handle more. I just like this, not enough hours in the day, and work life balance is way crazy kind of thing. So and that's when like it's basically okay, I need to change the way everything works. Like, so there's huge transition between freelancer and small agency, and small agency to a medium agency, which I haven't done yet, kind of thing. So I can't talk, but I know it's a huge it's a step difference. At the moment, I'm still project managing and kind of like leading the team and being in the middle, but this just can't scale. So that's, and I'm still there since like 1.5 year, 1 year at least, kind of like just how do we structure it, how do we do wireframe, how do we kind of like try and operationalize something better kind of thing, and trying to talk to others about it as well. So that's one key point which is still with me, kind of thing. And I don't know. I mean, there are the standard answers like bring on maybe a senior partner type in the agency who's at the same level. And I've had some discussions with others about it, but nothing's matured. There are the just hire somebody really expensive, which again I need to change myself to kind of stomach that kind of thing, to kind of like hire somebody nearer, hire somebody in the UK, and accept that kind of risk and reward kind of delegation responsibility. If I make a bad UK hire, it's gonna be bad kind of thing. So it's just, and I still haven't crossed that. The second distinct time about changing myself, I'd say when the mad rush of bubble developer like work kind of sort of dried up, the RFP kind of channel forum just kind of dried up, and as an agency with 7 devs we need a bit more volume into like the deal flow coming through. And that's like okay, what worked up until now is not gonna work. No amount of personalized RFP replies are gonna close this, and no amount of like personalized bubble forum replies are gonna close this. So have to do something very different and just kind of like change myself. So I can't imagine 2.5 years ago starting a YouTube channel and doing a responsive workshop, which was quite successful. Like as a first workshop, everybody kind of like, I don't know who came on it and why, but it worked, kind of thing. And the I can't imagine tweeting or Twitter. I didn't even have. I had a dormant account with zero followers. I didn't even know of hashtag no code like until like some months ago, or maybe it's been a year now. Time flies. So all marketing and salesy type kind of areas, because previously it was just just there's inbound stuff coming through, but now I have to be like kind of advertise and outbound. And there was a point when I was trying Facebook ads, Google ads, kind of like everything, email outbound campaign, LinkedIn, like everything, and kind of like scaled that back a bit because it's like can't do everything at once. Have to kind of focus on one channel, like like Alex says, like Alex Hormozy is like one product, one channel, one service, and just focus. Like it's, we try and spread ourselves too much in, oh, I can do Airtable and I can do software and I can do Bubble. You can, but expertise is hard in one, and the people buying is are different in each of them. So same goes with social media channels. I think I was like more Twitter focused, some then like a bit of Twitter, and a bit of LinkedIn. And it's just, if I had focused all energy in one, may have gone further than that.
What of those three, or of all the different marketing methods that you've tried, which one feels most natural to you and comfortable?
That's a good one. That's a good question. Because and it changes as well. So you don't want to be wedded too much to it as well. So Twitter initially felt a lot good, but over time realized, oh, I'm speaking to fellow bubble devs. And less kind of prospects kind of thing, and it's like lots of clapping going on and amazing and kind of like that type of stuff, but it's like it's more like a club here of fellow bubblers, which is great, which is like the vibe, the meeting you and bootcamp and JJ and all that. It's amazing stuff. But at the moment, I'm trying all three. Maybe I'm making a mistake, which Alex Hormozy and business gurus have dissuaded. But the current pipeline is YouTube video, is which I will do, and I'm gonna try and delegate all the rest to others. That's the so that I can focus on one piece of kind of core content in a video, and the rest should be copyrightable and blog postable and tweetable and LinkedInable and LinkedIn kind of postable without my involvement. The core piece has to have my involvement, and that's where like it's again change myself to improve delegation, kind of give somebody else access to kind of post stuff or write stuff, and accepting a little bit of a personality difference and style difference. Like I wouldn't write it that way, but I'm gonna have to look elsewhere and let this just flow out kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting decision that you've made too, because like I went to your website and first of all, I love the video ask in the bottom. I think that's so cool. I just clicked on it immediately. It popped up. It's like, what are you looking to do? I was like, oh, this is so great.
Stole that from VR No Code.
I'm gonna steal it from you. I think I have nothing to sell people right now. Actually, that's from Alex Hormozy too. Like I'm literally not trying to sell anything on this podcast. So, but I just love like it's just such a nice greeting at the website. Anyways, my question: you've clearly made yourself the face of your business, which some agencies choose. Actually, probably most agencies choose not to do. There's no like clear personal brand behind it. Why did you decide to go down that route in particular and make yourself the face of your business?
Gut feel is gonna be more oriented that way. This has been a frequent debate both internally with the team, with me and my wife, and I've spoken to others about it as well. People buy from people. That's one recurring thing that comes back, that people don't buy from businesses until they're very big. So like AirDev is different. People may wonder like, okay, I want to go to AirDev, but at our scale, AZKY Tech Labs, people can't even pronounce that kind of thing. And they're like, and that it doesn't make any sense because it's our family initials. It's like it's like it, and it's like you could try and be like amazingnocodestudios.com. At the end of the day, the brand, I'd push it. I'd say it's a transition. So early on, you probably need a bit more face to it. When you grow bigger and bigger, you can potentially reduce the face and turn more into a business brand. So that would be my kind of response to it. But even larger businesses can be powered a lot by personal brands. So it's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one. It's linked with questions like, can you sell it? Or are you building a sellable business? Or is this like a first business? It's linked with questions like, are you intending to? So it's all sorts of things. Personal brand never hurts. That I'd say it'll never hurt. Business brand also is a great thing. It's slower to build. It's slower to build, definitely. People just relate more to people. Like, how many business pages would you like who are very small or SME or indie small
Right.
corner shops?
Right.
So like, yeah.
Yeah, this is a topic that I'm thinking about a lot lately. One that I'm obsessed about. I was listening to this podcast. Do you ever listen to the All In podcast?
No. I've,
Okay, check it out. I think you'd really like it. But anyways, it's a group of four guys on there. They're all majorly successful in business. And one of this was in a recent episode. One of the guys was making the argument that he thinks in 30 years, big brands are going to just be killed by creators who are spinning off their own businesses and just basically selling them to their audience. An example he gave was like Mr.
Mr.
Beast. You know
Beast's
Mr. Beast on
chocolate,
YouTube?
his chocolate and his Gatorade type thing, and
So
his like
I didn't even know that he had chocolate or Gatorade, but he has like Mr. Beast Burger, which is like a franchise of restaurants. And I think they're doing like, I think he spun it up like a year or 2 years ago. I'd be shocked if it was more than 2 years ago, but I think they're already doing like $100 million in revenue or something insane. Now he has 100 million followers on YouTube, so like he's an outlier. But do you think that the way the world is going, that it's trending more towards the importance of having a personal brand, even if it's not the founder of a company, but just like associating faces with a company is becoming more important?
depends on who you ask. So at the end, the simple principle will always timelessly remain: people buy from people. So even if you go to B2B and high-end corporates, at the end it's like conferences, trade shows, talking, networking, going on dinner, hanging out, kind of squeezing in some kind of sales back and forth. But it's people buying from people as well, especially once things get commoditized, which will eventually happen to everything. So like a smartphone, for example. No, I think smartphone's not an easy good example. I'll give an example. One of my like university flatmates gave. He was in chemical sales, and he was like, ethanol at 99% for medical chemistry is ethanol at 99% at because of medical chemistry. so, so you can't like change the product and go with a
Right.
spec list of here's how our 99% ethanol is different. It's not supposed to be different. It's supposed to be 99% ethanol. Okay, so it's standard kind of like going, talking, knocking on doors. Do you need it? Do you need it? And it's like kind of thing. So people buy from people, essentially. So whether you're a freelancer or an employee or a business owner, at the end of the day, it's a people like people hire people. So there is the vibe aspect that we were talking about. So the vibe happens in the employment interview as well. So my first, not first, the second interview, the first one in the UK, even though the introduction was through a referral network, but the interview, if there was no vibe, it wouldn't. It's not like it was not some kind of like hire this guy kind of thing. It was like, oh, just go meet kind of thing. So I met, and it's like, okay, the vibe kind of thing happened, and it's like, okay, interview, and kind of like job thing happened. So having a personal presence online just reinforces, uh, builds a little bit of social trust, social capital. I would go so far as suggest something which may seem a bit outlandish, but there is definitely a what's the politically correct term for that nowadays? It's very hard. Uh, I'll go with my skin color, skin color effect. Okay, or
Okay.
name effect. The name sounds like offshorey, or skin color effect, or just the look and feel. There's studies about this. Same CV
Yeah.
with same specs, different photo, different name, and different response rates. Okay, and it happens. Now you can fight about it. Yes, I will be the most like staunch advocate that it shouldn't happen, but the fact that it's reality happens. So having some sort of social capital, being a minority, will give you a bit of a boost that you need as well. It's n number of factors here. So personal brand will help. It's I've read about this as well. It bugs me as well. One of the most famous stories, I think Calendly, his founder is African American or something. It's not like, and their team page was blank, and their founder presence, like compared to other startupy where the founders were like kind of like talking and everything, and the team page and has a values and everything. Now I think they've changed because he's a billionaire now, kind of thing. But even when fundraising, people would naturally assume the CFO who was the CEO or the founder. like when kind of like pitch decks and meeting, and they just naturally just meet shake hands first. Oh yeah, amazing Calendly founder. Like, he's the founder, I'm the CFO. He's the founder.
Wow,
So
wow.
it happens. It hurt. It happens. And I think personal brand can push a little bit of like personality and kind of just build a bit more trust or social capital. That it may be my just gut feel personal inclination, but I kind of prefer video because of that as well. That video instantly kind of breaks the ice a bit more, even if it's just a picture with a piece of text. But video can easily break the ice a bit more. That's just me personally talking. I'm not a social media expert.
Either am I, but what I do like about it, and I'll speak about this video. I mean, what I do like about video and just and putting yourself out there, when I watch other people who are whatever it is, doesn't have to be in business or anything, who are just putting themselves out there and talking and being authentic. There's so many ways to be likable as a creator. I think if you just kind of embrace your weirdness and you're authentic, you don't have to be like the funniest, most entertaining person. um, you just have to kind of put yourself out there, and people warm up to authenticity right away, I've found. So there's something nice about that.
Yeah. No, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. It's au- so me and my wife keep talking about business all the time, and she's comes more from a corporate background, and she keeps telling me you need a bit more polish and better headshots and better kind of backgrounds and better kind of sophisticated books in the back kind of thing. And I'm like, I'm just a plain engineer guy and I'm just talking kind of thing. So there's this constant kind of like polish or not. And one of the response I told her was that I think what you're saying is correct, probably for the next stage in business. But for that to happen, I need to change myself. I can't fake it. So I can't fake wear a suit and start talking in like a Londony accent and kind of like no, it's just not gonna work, kind of thing.
Yeah, dude. Well, like, look at what happened. I mean, it's when we started recording this, it's like 6:30 in the morning, and you were more prepared in terms of your video setup and mic than I was. Like, I'm cat sitting right now. I had a new camera finally that I was excited about. It didn't work. It like blew up. I don't know what's wrong with it. So I'd love to have a nice, and I will soon, because it's just something I want to do. But like, I don't know. I mean, people still seem to watch this stuff, and
Yeah. No,
the feedback so far has been great. So, yeah, exactly.
authenticity works. Easy example is Alex Hormozy. Look at back at his old videos. They were in a vest. They were literally a guy in a vest talking about
And he's got like
business.
the band-aid across his nose.
Yeah.
His nose. You're like, who is this
Who's
guy?
this guy? And then, but he says something. It's like, okay, start with $100 million, and people start listening. But it's not just about $100 million business that he has multiple of exits. It's what he's saying works. There's value in it. There's kind of concrete advice in it. Okay. So if there's value in what you're saying, from a creative perspective, if you're providing value, people will listen. Okay. I had this strange YouTube video that has many views on it, which is like I threw it on a loom. Like just I was supposed to tell my devs. A lot of my YouTube videos now are that. Like I need to explain something to my devs, and I'm like, and I've got loads in Urdu, and the just raw internal ones with kind of client specific stuff which I can't share. But page navigation using page URL parameters, just option set, page URL parameter, next, back, and show hide conditional groups kind of thing, just an onboarding sequence. And it just made it on a one shot record loom kind of thing, and sent it to my dev first, and then just pushed it on YouTube. It has more views because people find it more useful. So
Yeah, it's impossible to predict
yeah,
what people will resonate with. I
yeah.
think for sure.
But core value, you can't hide it. Core value add needs
Yeah.
there. It needs to be there.
How big do you want to grow this agency? How big do you want to be?
Short term, keep it boutique. That's like I had this phase of I want to hire, grow big, big, big. but the work-life balance skewed too much. So now I want to be structurally kind of sound in sales, marketing, and delegation before kind of hiring more. It's helps that now my wife's more involved in marketing as well, and she's left her job and kind of joined in the back,
Wow.
yeah, in the back. So that's good.
Congrats. That's
Convince
amazing.
took convincing. It's like I'll make sure I'll pay more than minimum wage.
Right.
Minimum wage.
Right.
Yeah.
You told her she'll make at least minimum wage if she joins the company.
But the original, okay, when starting out, there was not a plan to be an agency or a big agency or a medium or stay agency. The original plan was to build my own product. So learn Bubble. I think a lot of people start the other way. People start by trying to make their product in Bubble and then start selling Bubble services. I went the other way. I'm gonna sell Bubble services to learn Bubble and then make my own product and then stuck here, kind of remained here, kind of thing. So at some point, my eye is still on trying that out. A micro SaaS, especially now with micro acquire and like niche kind of, we've got loads of experience. And I'll be honest, it's very easy for us to build anything now in Bubble. We worked on blockchain, MVP, SaaS, business tooling, all sorts of stuff. So the dev side is extremely kind of bulky, weighty now. But sales and marketing, man, it's a whole different beast. Whole different kind of skill set altogether. It's still learning it, and I think it's a continuous process, as with dev, as with like sales marketing, continuous process. But I think I'm gonna try 2023, hopefully. Let's see when. I don't know. But gonna and we've tried before as well. We created a product, kind of threw it out there and then stopped. Wire Story. I don't know if you saw the Twitter. It was like a low fidelity wireframing tool built using Bubble and built it for to
No, I
manage
didn't see it all.
internal pain. Uh, but yeah, then I was like, okay, sales marketing too hard, identifying customer persona, product market fit, all that work. I know the terms, I'm aware of it. I advise clients on it about it, and it's easier to advise others on it than do it yourself. But it's just a time thing. So yeah, it is boutique agency for the short term, but you never know. I may change myself.
Yeah, I remember when I started learning Bubble, I was building this product idea that I had that I was more, and I think I was more just like curious at the time about learning how to build on Bubble and amazed that, oh, I can actually like maybe build this software product. And I worked and worked and worked for like 6 months on it, ignored every piece of advice in the book about talking to customers and making sure that the thing I was building is actually something people want. And then I remember at the end of 6 months, I was like at a point where, okay, it's good enough. I can go and sell this thing now. And then realizing the next day when I woke up, like, how do I sell? Like, what do
I
I
have
do?
no
It's this
idea.
whole other aspect. Like, I have no idea. I'm sure it's a common story for many people in this space. But Zubair, I feel like I could talk to you for days. We should definitely do this again. And where can people find you on socials? I'll link to everything below, but
Uh,
why don't you shout out your Twitter or wherever you want
yeah.
to shout out?
So I've got a link tree now, so I'm so popular.
Ooh,
I've got a
so
link tree
cool.
with like all the socials and everything in one place. So I think I'm gonna point to that, but definitely Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, email, website, so all the usual
Awesome.
stuff. But there's a link tree.
Awesome. And the links to all of those, especially the link tree, will be in the description of this video.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming on. And
Thank you.
yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure.